first light on the ruins of Montenay. This place, and the valley that surrounds it, is on a tributary of the mighty White River. This once grand tourist destination drew folks from across America, here to relax and enjoy the natural beauty unique to the Ozarks. Today, most of what was Montenay is underwater, submerged after the creation of Beaver Dam in 1962. This resort was the dream of William Coyne Harvey, educator, lawyer, promoter, author, and champion of the free silver movement. This film is about his life and his dream that was Montenay.
A smile begets a smile, and kindness begets kindness. Coyne Harvey.
Born in the rugged wilderness of 19th century West Virginia, William Hope Harvey spent his formative years in Buffalo and grew up the son of a prosperous planter. He entered Marshall College in nearby Huntington, but remained there only a few months. He then began to study law on his own while supporting himself by teaching school. Harvey was admitted to the West Virginia bar before his 21st birthday and practiced law in Huntington, West Virginia, and then for 2 years in Cleveland, Ohio. Harvey met and married his wife, Anna R. Halliday of Cleveland. In 1879, they moved to Chicago, and 2 years later to Gallipolis, Ohio.
Over the next years, they moved from place to place. He practiced in Gallipolis for a little while, then they went to Chicago, then they came back to Gallipolis. And then in the mid-1880s, everything really took a dramatic change. He took his family out west to southwest Colorado and got involved in running a silver mine. Left law behind, but they didn't stay there very long. That wasn't going as well as he hoped it would go. So again, he goes in search of something else, and he takes his family to Pueblo, Colorado. And he got involved there in all sorts of activities involving law and real estate, promotion, and also got involved in the building of the Mineral Palace there. It was an elaborate exposition hall that was to celebrate the importance of mining in Colorado's economy at the time. It featured statues of the Silver Queen and King Cole.
Harvey's odyssey continued across the West as he sought fame and fortune. After the Mineral Palace fell on hard times, he pulled up stakes and moved to Ogden, Utah, where he was a central figure in the Order of Monte Cristo, whose main purpose was the creation and promotion of a Mardi Gras-type festival that, unfortunately, like the Mineral Palace, failed to make any money for Harvey and his family. By 1893, Harvey moved back to Chicago. It was this same year that the nation was gripped by a severe depression. Early in 1893, one of the major railroads and manufacturing companies in the country went bankrupt. This touched off a wave of bank closures. Over 600 banks failed in the country over the next year. By 1893, 1 in 4 unskilled workers were out of work, and farm foreclosures were at an all-time high.
This was the worst depression, the worst event like this in the history of this country up until the Great Depression that started in 1929 and 1933. So it has a huge impact across the country in many sectors of the economy. And in that situation, many feel that their government is unresponsive. People who are clamoring for some relief in clamoring for an increase in the money supply, find that President Grover Cleveland and a Republican Congress actually demonetized silver. That is, they say we're going strictly on a gold standard. And so in early 1894, there is just a wave of interest in free silver. And so Coin Harvey comes along with his little book, Coin's Financial School, at just the right time. People and politicians say people on every street corner are reading this book. It's the book and the man and the market hitting all together right at the right time.
Harvey's bestseller launched him into the national spotlight as the King of Free Silver. Coin's Financial School was based on a fictional character named Coin and his dialogues with the major proponents of the gold standard at the time. Through the book, the youthful Coin confronts and debunks the arguments for the continuation of the gold standard and offers up a solution to the problems that beset people in the 1890s by advocating the free coinage of silver. This character and the success Harvey received after publishing over 1 million copies earned him the nickname Coin.
A knowledge of the money subject is what is now most needed in the present disturbance in the world. Civilization cannot function without money. Coin Harvey.
The government had existed on a bimetallic system of currency since the time of the founding of the Republic. Money was coined in both gold and silver at a ratio of weight between the silver and the gold dollar at 16:1. The silver in the silver dollar weighed 16 times as much as the gold in the gold dollar. In 1873, the government decided to end the coining of silver and go strictly on a gold standard. This system eventually evolved into the Federal Reserve System we have today. Harvey and his contemporaries sought the reintroduction of the coining of silver at a ratio of 16:1. This was the basis of the free silver movement. During the presidential campaign of 1896, Harvey became the chairman of the Democratic Party's Ways and Means Committee and was influential in making free coinage of silver one of the major issues in the election. Coin was influential in shaping the campaign of Democratic candidate William Jennings Bryan.
In terms of the election of 1896, which is sometimes called the Battle of the Standards, the gold standard versus the silver standard, Coin Harvey is very, very important as a popularizer. Again, the general public is not interested in technical economics. They want something they can easily understand, and by virtue of this massive printing operation, he reached many, many people who might not have been interested in politics at all.
Harvey's hopes for change in American society, and specifically his hopes for the free coinage of silver, collapsed with the defeat of William Jennings Bryan and the Democrats in the general election of 1896. Faced with this defeat, Harvey became convinced that American society was headed for collapse and that wise men would do well to hide out in the wilderness, which is exactly what he did when he purchased some 320 acres near Rogers, Arkansas.
Well, in 1900, Coin Harvey moved here to Northwest Arkansas. One of the funny things is he said he liked Northwest Arkansas because there were no large cities and no rich people. It's changed a lot since then. He came down to the valley of what was known as Silver Springs here, just southeast of Rogers. It was luxurious, great trees, very cool, a great place to have a resort, which is what he planned to build here. He bought 320 acres in this area and a very beautiful place. Renamed it Montanay, meaning mountain water. It was a site of many springs that made the water very cool and the area very refreshing.
Harvey envisioned the area as a resort mecca. He put his talents for promotion and public relations to work by surveying the land, offering up lots for sale, and laying out contracts to build the first of what he envisioned as several hotels that would occupy the valley.
To build his resort, the very first thing he built was a hotel called Hotel Montanay. They had 300-foot wings in the hotel, lots of porches, and the rooms all had their own fireplaces, because even here in the middle of summer in the evening it would get fairly cool, so they could have a little bit of fire, a little bit of warmth in each of the rooms.
With the completion of the hotel on June 19, 1901, the small town of Montenay sprang up around it. Harvey opened up a bank, helped start the newspaper, and dedicated his time to promoting and building his resort. After the initial success of Hotel Montenay, Harvey continued to make his dream into a reality. He was instrumental in organizing the road building from Lowell out to Montenay. He dammed Big Spring, and in so doing he created a lagoon that visitors would encounter whenever they disembarked the train. Harvey then had visitors cross the lagoon in boats or an authentic Venetian gondola that Harvey had imported for guests to cross the lagoon into the waiting hotel. Montenay became known as the only place in the country where you could go from train to gondola.
He does very well. So by the time of about 1905, he brings in a fairly well-renowned architect from St. Louis by the name of A.O. Clark. He's responsible for building two of the hotels. They were called rows, and they were named after the surrounding states. Coin Harvey originally meant to call them by the four states, Texas, Louisiana, Oklahoma, and Missouri, and then put an Arkansas center as well. He only had two built, Oklahoma Row and Missouri Row.
Missouri Row was the second hotel constructed, beginning in August of 1904. The building was 46 feet wide and 305 feet long, and built of 8,000 logs with a cement floor and a red tile roof. 14,000 cubic feet of concrete were used. The tiles alone were shipped from Chicago in 5 railroad cars. The center and two ends of the hotel rose to 2 stories, the remainder being a single story. As was the case with Hotel Montenay, Missouri Row featured long porches, 575 feet of them. The hotel opened in September of 1905. The final hotel built was Oklahoma Row, and it featured a 2-story main lobby with a multi-story tower at the south end of the hotel. This was one of the first multi-story concrete buildings constructed in the United States. Both Row hotels featured electric lights, indoor plumbing with running water, and each room had its own fireplace. In their day, the Missouri and Oklahoma Row hotels were the largest log structures in the world. In August 1901, Harvey's son Hal and brother-in-law Ernest Halliday opened a large bathhouse on Silver Springs Creek, across the lagoon from Hotel Montenay. The indoor pool was the first in Arkansas. It was 25 by 50 feet and 7 feet deep, and included springboards and slides. The pool was fed by Big Spring.
We swim at the pool some, but that pool down there come right out of the spring, and as the coldest water. It would turn you purple in just a few minutes. But we swam there a lot, a lot.
The resort grew and became quite successful. Most notable at this time was the 4th of July celebrations, which involved brass bands, baseball games, and fireworks. Crowds of 5,000 people or more were often in attendance on these special occasions.
And if we think of him as one of these people who's a visionary, he's sort of out there thinking grand thoughts and scheming both what will change society and, oh, by the way, make me some money. I look at Montenay as something of both. This would be a marvelous attraction where ordinary people could come and enjoy the out of doors and enjoy popular culture like they were going to a Chautauqua meeting someplace, and also would secure his personal fortune. So doing well and doing good seemed to join for many of these people.
He was not a religious person. In fact, he was at odds with his wife over that, and his wife being fairly religious. So he doesn't bring the traditional religious values in. But at the same time, I certainly think he was a moral person, and we see that especially in the 19-teens and 20s when especially 19-teens when he's dealing with what he called character building. And the whole list of character traits he thought would make a better populace in the United States. And although they aren't religious in nature, they are kind of golden rule in nature. I think he had values, and he felt very strongly about them, and for him to get them across, sometimes he seemed very strict and severe and even conservative to people.
He did not divorce his wife until 1929, shortly before he died. Perhaps because in all of his writings he'd argued about the evils of divorce, and maybe he just, he wanted them to live apart openly and explain to the children why they were doing that, but I guess he didn't want to take that final step. But at the end he did, and he married his longtime secretary, May Leakey.
Harvey believed that his ideas could save American civilization from perdition. He conceived of plans to build a pyramid to inform distant generations about the fate of America and to serve as a repository for records of the 20th century. Vance Randolph, author and important chronicler of the history of the Ozarks, wrote this about Harvey's pyramid.
There were to be 4 separate vaults in the pyramid. Each vault was to contain one copy of a special 400-page book written by Coin Harvey himself. It was a report on the rise and growth of the present civilization with a symposium of opinions regarding the dangers which threatened it and the cause of its impending collapse. On top of the pyramid were to be fixed plates of the most enduring metal known, bearing the inscription, "When this can be read, go below and find the record of a former civilization." Vance Randolph.
Down in the Ozarks, in the town of Montenay, nearly 100 years ago, Coin Harvey was convinced of our own decay. Civilizations are come and gone, attended with untold suffering, and now this one is in danger, and it's on the verge of going.
By 1928, the foundation for the pyramid was complete. Harvey had plans to prevent erosion on the east side, so he had a foyer, or what was later called the amphitheater, built for this purpose. This amphitheater was designed to seat 1,000 people and was fashioned out of steel-reinforced concrete. By 1929, with the beginning of the Great Depression, work on the pyramid ceased. Today, the only remnant of Harvey's work on the pyramid project is the submerged amphitheater that occasionally reemerges from Beaver Lake.
He put $10,000 of his own money into building the amphitheater. He got about $1,000 in donations from other people to build the amphitheater. He ran out of money to build the pyramid. It never got built. Interestingly, today, you'll hear people say, let's go to the pyramid or to the pyramids. what they're referring to here is the amphitheater.
At the age of 81, William Coin Harvey ran for President of the United States, making him the oldest person ever to run for the office. He founded the Liberty Party, which was devoted to the abolition of interest and the free coinage of silver, the lifetime obsession of Harvey. The whole affair came to naught as the party polled less than 60,000 votes in the election of 1932.
You get to kind of what is typically a retirement age, and you start thinking, what's my legacy? You know, what am I leaving behind? And for him, you know, he could look back and say, well, back in the 90s, this. But, you know, the resort's great, but, you know, it's really what really I think enthused him was, you know, the issues of the economy and this character building type thing. And he, you know, fused them, he melded them together to some of his things, and the whole, both the pyramid idea and his getting back into politics, you know, I think, you know, whether he thought of it in those concrete terms or not, it was kind of this, my legacy. I need to do something else.
An evil giant, its name usury, interest, is stalking through all the nations of the world, trampling underfoot the liberties and the happiness of the people. Coin Harvey.
On February 11th, 1936, Coin Harvey died at his home in Montanay, Arkansas. He was 84 years old, and although he is gone, he leaves his legacy through his writings and the ruins of Montanay. Coin was interred in a cement tomb with his son Hal.
Yeah, Harvey had been born back before the Civil War, and unlike some of the people who were involved in the populist and free silver movements, he didn't just kind of moderate and segue and become a progressive and then become a democratic New Dealer. He really stayed out there on the fringes with some of his ideas, including never ever even giving up on the idea of free silver.
I do take offense to folks who call him eccentric or nuts. I don't. He was not. I don't have any hesitation saying that. I do believe he was an entrepreneur. He just really jumped and moved and you know, got himself in all these different things. He's just fascinating in that way, and there's so many things that we don't know about him.
It strikes me that Coin Harvey could have been a model for the wizard in The Wizard of Oz. He's this person who, call him a charlatan, call him an original thinker, but he's someone who captivates the imagination of people and lives by his wits until things come crashing down. And for Coin Harvey, things seemed always to be crashing down. It was one grand idea after another, and none of them exactly worked, but yet I think he left a mark through his writings.
He knew where it would lead, our society based on greed. Harvey saw the end coming. He would herald to the world a great signal warning.